Hello and welcome to Gyan Gurukul economics classes. So today we are going to learn about a concept called bilateral monopoly. We have already learned about what is monopoly, what are its characteristics, and also talked about price discrimination, right? Now today we will see this new concept called bilateral monopoly, and as the name suggests, that is bilateral. It basically talks about, or it takes care of two concepts. Okay, it takes care of two concepts together. What are they? First, it talks about monopoly that we have already learned. Okay, it talks about monopoly. Then the second thing it talks about is monopsonist, right? Monopsonist. Now, this is a new concept. Okay, we haven't heard about this, so today we first we will talk about this concept, that is monopsonist, right? So see, in monopoly, what happens? There is a single seller, right? There is a single seller. Let's say this is a firm, right? This is a firm. This is a single seller selling a particular product. Okay, so this is the monopolist. Sorry, this is the monopoly seller, right? And there are too many numbers of buyers in the market. Okay, there are lots of number of buyers, right? Now, in case of monopsonist, what happens? There is only a single buyer. Okay, so let's say this is the only buyer of a particular product, right? So let's say this monopoly firm produces a product, say for example, let's say it produces bottles. Okay, it produces plastic bottles, and let's say this is a particular type of bottle produced by this firm. Okay, this is a particular type of plastic bottle produced by this firm. Clear? Now here is the another firm. Okay, here is another firm. Let's say this is another firm that produces, it produces cold drinks. Okay, it produces cold drinks, and for that purpose it requires bottles. Okay, it requires bottles. And remember, in the market, let us suppose that this particular cold drinks making company produces their product, that is the particular cold drink, and fill that in a specific type of bottle, and that specific type of bottle is nothing but this one. Okay, so what happens? This particular firm, that is monopoly. Okay, this particular firm, that is a monopoly firm, it produces a particular type of bottle, this one, right? And in the entire economy, there is only one single buyer of this particular bottle. Okay, there is only one single buyer of this particular bottle, and that is nothing but this particular firm. Let's say, let's name them. This is the monopoly firm is called firm A, and the monopsonist firm is called firm B, right? So monopoly, what do monopoly sell? A particular commodity in the market, and monopsonist on the other hand is a single buyer. Okay, single buyer of a particular product. That is in the entire economy, there is only, if there is only one single buyer of a particular product, then that particular buyer is called a monopsonist. Okay, that particular buyer is called the monopsonist. And in this case, we have seen that this particular firm, that is firm B, needs this particular bottle or demands this particular bottle, and that's why it buys that particular bottle from monopoly firm. Okay, so we come to know about what is monopoly and what is monopsonist. Now let's see what is bilateral monopoly. So bilateral, when we talk about bilateral monopoly, it is basically a you know both the two, when there are two a particular, one is particular buyer and one is particular seller, definitely there is going to be you know bargaining between both of them regarding the price. Okay, there is going to be bargaining regarding the price of that particular product, and this whole process is explained by the concept called bilateral monopoly. Okay, so let's see how in the bilateral monopoly, that is where there is one single buyer and there is one single seller, and how the equilibrium is reached. Okay, let's see. So let me draw a particular diagram. This is the x-axis. Okay, this is our y-axis. Clear? In the y-axis we are going to take the price, right? As usual, we are going to take the price in the y-axis, and in the x-axis we are going to take the quantity produced, right? First, let's talk about the monopolist. So for the monopolist, he would face a demand curve, downward sloping demand curve, let's say this is the demand curve, okay, demand or AR curve, okay. He will also have a MR curve, which is half the slope of AR, right? This is the MR curve, let's say, and there will be a MC curve. So let's say this is the marginal cost curve of the monopolist. Okay, so what we have got till now, there is a demand or the AR curve of the monopolist, there is a MR curve and the MC curve. And from the theory of monopoly, what we have learned, that the monopoly producer attains equilibrium at the point where marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue, okay, at this particular point, and consequently he would produce a quantity that is O, let's say OQ1, okay. He would produce OQ1 and the price would be decided by this point here, okay. So the price is, let's say, OP1, right? Sorry, not OP dash, let's say OP1, okay. So the price is OP1 and the quantity is OQ1, clear? So he is willing to produce OQ1 at price OP1. Up to this clear? Now see, now let's talk about the monopsonist, right? The monopsonist, on the other hand, he would perceive this marginal cost curve as the supply curve, okay. He would perceive this marginal cost curve of the monopolist to be the supply curve of the monopsonist, right? Why? You would ask me why. So let me tell you this. See, for example, let us suppose that up to this point, let's say up to this point, it represents one quantity, okay, one quantity of that particular product, or we are talking about plastic bottles. So let's say this is one quantity, that is from O to this much. This is one quantity, okay. In order to produce one quantity, let us suppose that the marginal cost was, let's say, up to this point, let's say 5 rupees, okay. So in order to produce one quantity, what was the cost, what is the marginal cost required for the monopolist? It was 5 rupees, right? It was 5 rupees, clear? Now let us say from here we go to a second quantity, okay. So this represents the second quantity, okay. Now see, in order to produce the second quantity, the monopolist have to increase his cost, that is the marginal cost. Its marginal cost will go up, and let's say the second quantity cost him, let's say 7 rupees, okay. The first quantity, in order to produce the first quantity, it cost him 5 rupees, and the second quantity cost him 7 rupees, okay. Now see, the monopsonist from his point of view, he will see that which is the lowest possible price at which the monopolist will be ready to sell him a particular quantity, okay. So let us first talk about this particular first quantity, okay. For the first quantity, the marginal cost was rupees 5, right? The marginal cost was rupees 5 for the first quantity, okay. Now think from the point of view of a rational seller, okay. If you are a rational seller, you are going to sell any particular quantity at any price, but not at a price which is less than the marginal cost, right? You are not going to sell a quantity if the price of that quantity, okay, if the price of this quantity is less than the marginal cost of producing that quantity, right? Yes. And that is why the monopsonist would realize, that the first quantity, that is the first quantity of the output, would not be sold to him by the monopolist at a price which is less than 5, okay. That means he would sell at any price above 5, right? He would sell at any price above 5, but not a price which is less than rupees 5. So rupees 5 would be the minimum price that the monopolist would charge from the monopsonist for the first quantity of the product, clear? So that is the first thing. So he would see that this point representing the first quantity at rupees 5, this is the minimum price would be that would be charged by the monopolist to him, first thing. Now when he goes to buy another unit of the product, that is the second bottle, okay, Now he realized that the marginal cost have increased. Okay, the marginal cost have increased. Now the marginal cost is rupees 7. Okay, so he realized that the monopolist will not sold him the second unit at a price which is less than rupees 7. It must be greater than rupees 7, but it should not be, okay, it should not be less than 7. Okay, he would not, the monopolist would not sell the second quantity at a price less than rupees 7. Okay, so he would, the monopsonist would realize that. Okay, so ideally the situation is that the monopolist would, the monopsonist would like to buy the product, the first unit. Okay, he would like to buy the first unit at rupees 5, the second unit at rupees 7, and so on and so forth. Okay, that should be the ideal situation, right? From the point of, I am talking from the point of view of the monopolist, not from the point of view of the monopolist, right? We are talking from the point of view of the monopsonist, and that is the ideal situation. But what happens, he could not, buy each and every unit at a different price. Okay, he must buy all the units at a single possible price, right? Take for the example, you went to a shop and go to buy a, let's say, a candy. Okay, you went to a shop and go to buy a candy. Okay, so you know that the first unit of candy cost the producer or the seller, let's say 10 rupees. Okay, let's say 10 rupees. Now you say that the first candy, in the production of the first candy, the marginal cost was 10. So I am ready to give you rupees 10. Okay, I am ready to give you rupees 10. But if I am going to buy the second unit of the candy and I realize that the marginal cost was 12 rupees, so I am going to give you 12 rupees for the second candy. But that doesn't happen in the real world. When you go to a particular grocery shop, let's say, to buy a candy or buy several candies, you have to give a uniform price. Okay, you have to give him a uniform price. Not that for every unit of the candy you will give him a different price according to the marginal cost in the production. No, that doesn't happen in the real world, right? So you have to give him a uniform price, and that thing also happens in the case of our example. Okay, so though this would have been the ideal situation for the monopsonist, but he could not buy each unit at a different price, and that's why he have to buy a certain quantity of the particular product at a uniform price. Okay, that is the thing. So he perceived this particular curve to be this particular MC curve, he perceived it to be the supply curve. Okay, he perceived it to be the supply curve. That is, uh, if if he goes to, that is the supply curve of the monopolist. Okay, that the monopolist is supplying all these quantities at different prices. Okay, that means, if I take a point here, okay, let's say I take a point here. Okay, let's say this is quantity Q2, right? So if the monopsonist is going to buy Q2 quantity of the commodity, then he would see what is offered to at what price this is offered to him by the monopolist, and he will see directly at this curve, that is the MC curve, because he perceives it to be the supply curve of the monopolist, and that's why he will see that at this price, let's say P2, at P2 the monopolist is, according to the monopsonist, he would realize that at P2 price Q2 quantity is being offered. Okay, it is being offered by the monopolist and he would like to buy that, right? So all this we are saying about is about the monopsonist, okay, from his point of view, right? So what we have learned, that the marginal cost curve, okay, the marginal cost curve of the monopolist is actually looked by the monopsonist as the supply curve. Okay, it is actually viewed by the monopsonist as the supply curve offered to him. Okay, it is viewed as the supply curve offered to him by the monopolist. Clear? Now let's see what happens from the point of view of the monopsonist when he goes to buy any particular good. Okay, so let's say, let me draw it in another slide so I can show you clearly. So this is our quantity, this is our price, this is the average revenue curve or the demand curve, this is MR, and this was the marginal cost curve or the supply curve that is perceived by the monopsony, right? Now see, let's say he is buying at up to this quantity. Okay, he is buying up to this quantity, or let's say for the first quantity he have to pay a price that is rupees 10. So this is price, this is quantity, this is TC, total cost, and this is MC, right? So one quantity at rupees 10 would cost him rupees 10, MC undefined. Let's say for the second quantity, when he goes to buy two quantity, because of the upward sloping nature of the supply curve, if he going to buy the second quantity, he would have to buy both the two quantities at a higher price. Assume that the price is 12, so it would be 24. So what is MC? MC is 10 to 24, 14, right? So now third quantity is going to buy at a price, let's say 15. Now 15 3s are 45. So 45, what would be the marginal cost? Marginal cost would be 24, 20, 21, I think, right? Okay, so what we see that as the monopsonist is going to buy more and more quantity of the product from the monopolist, his marginal cost is going up. Okay, his marginal cost, initially it was 14, then 21, then further it will go up. Okay, the marginal cost increases, and this is denoted by a curve called marginal expenditure. Okay, so this curve is called marginal expenditure. Now this marginal expenditure curve is nothing but the marginal cost curve from the point of view of the monopsonist. Okay, clear? Now just because the marginal cost is higher and higher, and that is why we see that it is above this curve, that is the supply curve perceived by the monopsonist. Clear? Now see, now when we talk about equilibrium, from the point of view of the monopolist, his equilibrium position would be, say, at this point. Okay, he would like to sell OQ1 quantity at price, say, OP1, right? But the monopsonist, from the point of view of the monopsonist, what he would try to equalize his marginal expenditure with the price. Okay, he would like to equalize his marginal expenditure with the price, because what he would see that the price of the product is reflecting the value of the product. Okay, the price of the product is actually reflecting the demand for the particular product or the value of that particular product. Okay, so what he would try to equalize, that he would like to equalize his marginal cost, that is the marginal expenditure. Okay, that is the marginal expenditure or the marginal cost of the monopsonist with the value of the product or the price of the product, right? And that's why he would attain equilibrium at the point where the marginal expenditure is equal to the price. Clear? So that we have seen at this point. Okay, at this point. Now see, the monopsonist is viewing, or he is anticipating that the monopolist is likely to give him the MC curve of the monopolist is the supply curve. Okay, the MC curve of the monopolist, this is the supply curve as perceived by the monopsonist. So what would happen, he would try to come to this point, that is at this point in this curve, and he would like to buy this amount of quantity, that is let's say OQ2 at price OP, say, let's say this is price OP2. Okay, so we got two things. Okay, what are the two things? From the point of view of the monopolist, what he would like to do, he would like to sell OQ1 quantity at price OP1. Okay, and on the other hand, from the point of view of the monopsonist, what he would like to do, he would like to sell OQ2 amount of sorry, not sell, he would like to buy OQ2 amount of quantity at price OP2. And remember that OP2 is less than OP1, right? OP2 is clearly less than OP1. Why? Because see, he know that OP2 is the marginal cost. Okay, if the monopolist is going to sell OQ2 amount, okay, he wouldn't sell it at a price which is less than OP2, but sell at any higher price than OP2, right? We have already talked about it in the previous slide, right? So now he realized that he would not sell at a lower price than OP2, and OP2 is the lowest minimum possible price which the monopolist may offer to the monopsonist. Okay, so that is why he would be willing to buy the product at a price OP2. Okay, he would like to buy at OP2. Now this is not directly a equilibrium position. Okay, nobody is happy with each other's solution. Okay, both are going to argue with each other, they are going to bargain with each other. Clear? So the the strength of bargaining between both the two, that is the monopsonist and the monopolist, would decide at which price and at which quantity they are going to settle down. Okay, it may be say at this point, it may be at this point, say it could be different. Okay, it could be let's say at this price P star, both are expecting both are accepting the proposal that both will the monopolist will produce this much of quantity, and the monopsonist would buy this much of quantity at OP star price. Okay, or it may be another quantity and another price combination, let's say OP dash, and similarly here let's say it is OQ dash. So in between these 2 points, that is these 2 price, what were the sorry yes, so in between these 2 price, that is OP1 and OP2, they will bargain with each other for a particular quantity and particular price, and consequently they both will decide a particular quantity and price, and that would be that would depend upon the strength of both the bargainers. Okay, it would depend upon strength of both the 2 bargainers, right? So this is what we call a bilateral monopoly, where both the 2 buyers, that is the buyer and the seller, both are a single firm or a single person in the entire economy. Okay, so that's what you have to learn about bilateral monopoly. Thank you for joining us, and a request to you, if you guys like our video, then please hit the like button. No, let us know if there are any queries or suggestions in the comment section. Also, please share our videos with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe the channel for latest notifications. Thank you.